Good evening, everyone. I am Sandylu Guerrero of Life's Trace Coaching, your transformational business and life coach, and you are watching Transform Your Life with Sandylu and Friends. And today I have a very, very special guest, coach. She's a coach as well. Her name is Marianne Emma Jeff, and she is the owner, CEO of the Women's Momentum Center and best-selling author of Get It Done, Diva's Guide to Business and Brand Me. And I'll tell you more about her in a bit. But thank you for watching. Today is June. What day is it? June?
Don't ask me.
18? I think it's June 18. I don't know. Wait, 16. 17, yeah, 18. June 18, 2019. And it is kind of a warm day here. I don't know. It feels warm. It always feels warm here where
It is not warm. It's freezing here.
Okay, maybe it's hormones then. I'm dying here. It's so funny. I'm hot. It's the hormones.
I live in Palm Springs.
Oh, that's right. This is nothing. Okay. Well, I don't know. I think it's just my hormones. You know, 45 going on 46. Things are starting to change, But anyway, I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Happy Father's Day to everybody that celebrated this weekend. That includes all the moms who play the dad role, all those people who play the role of a father, who support someone in one form or another. It could even be a mentor, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes mentors are another form of that love, that nurturing, that support that a father does provide. So happy Father's Day to everyone. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and that you are enjoying this weather. We're finally having this change of weather and a lot of stuff happening on the news. The sad part is that in the news there's just, I don't really watch the news that much because it's so negative. In fact, I thought I'm going to start a channel called Happy News at least one day out of the week or something. It's an idea because I feel that what we feed our brain is, just like what we feed our food, the food we feed ourselves. If it's if it's not healthy, we're going to feel crappy, right?
Of course.
And if we are feeding our brain just negative news, then it creates anxiety and stress and all these different things. And I don't know about you, but I want to help the whole world. So I feel like, oh my gosh, it's just me and this whole world that needs help. And what do I do? So I focus on one thing here and one thing there. And, so we'll talk about that in a future conversation. But anyway, I think we got to focus on the positive. So let's think positive. Let's look at the positive things that people are doing out there in the world. We need happy news. Share your happy news, my friends. Share your happy news on our feed, on my feed. Tag me with your great news. Like, I want to hear great things that you're doing in the community, with your family, accomplishments, etc. Like, we got to start changing this. So make sure I'm ready to start this happy news movement. Like, it's an idea of mine. It keeps coming up. And once I have an idea, if you know me, I can't get rid of that idea. I have to do something with it. I have to. Maybe I can't do it all at once, but I will. So be my partner in happy news. But anyway, today I have a wonderful guest. And as you know, I'm a transformational business and life coach. And there are many, many coaches out there. And we all have different experience, different knowledge, expertise, perspectives. So I'm bringing on, I've brought Coach Dawn. I brought Priscilla Rose of Rose Coaching and Consulting. And so I'm going to be bringing even more coaches on so that you could hear and learn from them, their perspective as well. But we all have a story and we all have our experiences that led up to the work that we do. So I'm really looking forward because Marianne Emma Jeff and I have had various encounters, but never had the opportunity to really speak. I have taken one of your courses, and many of my friends have worked with you, and I see all the great things that you're doing and the people that you're working with as well, and and vice versa, like we talked about it a little bit. But I'm looking forward to hear more about you and your story. But I'm gonna go ahead and share a little bit with you about Marianne Jeff. So Marianne Emma Jeff is the CEO of Women's Business Momentum Center and is the best-selling author of the Get It Done, Diva's Guide to Business and Brand Me. Marianne shows women how to catch their ideas on fire but not burn them. Good point. And accelerate the growth of their business using the Women's Business Momentum Center to create momentum in their business and their lives. Marianne has dedicated her career to developing business productivity and profitability tools that have helped thousands of women who were overwhelmed and frustrated to take back control of their time and some even 10 times their businesses. or 10x, right?
Either way, I
either
think
way,
it
10
works
times
well.
10x.
10x, 10 times, we'll take it, right?
Yes, she has helped women who want to quit their day job to pursue their dream using the ideal schedule and 90-day power plan to create freedom and choice. She has shown women how to create consistency and take baby steps forward using her 7 levels of business success blueprint and comprehensive checklist to create a roadmap for success. If you have a call to adventure and relentlessness or a desire to create change, Marianne will show you how to move the dial to exceed your goals and make an impact on the world by focusing on consistent action to become the rock star of your life. I love that.
Yeah.
Exciting. I like
Sounds
it. So you hear she's exciting. Are you already feeling the momentum?
I hope so.
I know.
We'll get there. We'll get to the momentum.
All right. So, Marianne, thank you for joining me. Thank you for saying yes.
Having me.
Thank you. And also, thank you for being my partner in transformation. You know, because I think that we're up to the same things in the sense of we're transforming the world. We're transforming lives in our own way. And our world's a better place when people are happier about what they're doing and creating the results they want in their life and creating, relationships, money, business, etc. that they want. And it's work.
Yes.
But before we go into your work, let's talk about you and where you're from and all that good stuff. Because I don't really know much other than she lives in Palm Springs, which is really hot over there right now. So
yeah, we're gonna hit 125 next month probably.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, it's cold up here.
I better not complain, huh?
But I'm not from here originally.
Oh, where are you from?
So I'm from England. I'm from a town called Nottingham, which is right in the middle of the country, the middle of the Midlands. And I'm from a little village called Radcliffe-on-Trent. That's where I grew up. And I grew up and I never felt like I fit completely where I lived. And it wasn't until I moved here that I began to feel like I was home, that I was in the place I was meant to be, that I was a piece of the puzzle that fit. And it felt so good when I moved here. I was 19 when I moved here. And I had one day when I just felt like, oh, things are flowing. This is where I'm meant to be. And I'm sure a lot of people experience that, whether it's moving to a different city or a different town, or maybe it's being with different people or whatever it is, there's times where things are just not flowing. I love my family and I loved that they got to be with them in England, but the actual place itself wasn't where I needed to be at that time. It felt like it didn't understand me. The things that I always wanted to do things. I wanted to create a vegetarian restaurant, a pop-up restaurant, and this is before pop-ups were a thing. This was way before food trucks. And so I remember one time I got all of these recipes and I wanted to do this pop-up where I was going to do these vegetarian sausage rolls and the pastry and make everything, and nothing really ever took off for me. I was an actress in England.
Oh.
And I did really enjoy acting, and it's something that I still enjoy to this day, that sense. We talked about it a few minutes ago of being a performer. That feels comfortable to me. But even when I found acting in England and I went to college for acting, I never quite felt like I was the right fit or things were going my way. And I really struggled. I struggled with my dad moving to a different country, and my parents were divorced, and the usual stuff that a lot of people are struggling with when they're adolescents. But I turned to alcohol, and that was how I numbed myself from how I was feeling. So not feeling like I fit into the country, the place, that people didn't understand me, typical adolescent stuff. But then there was a lot of other things that I was just not able to handle. And it snowballed to the point that one night, it was the last day of college of that year. And it was always a lot of partying and drinking because this is England, right? This is a totally different mentality than it is here in the States around alcohol. Now, I'm sure that's shifted. This is, well, I have to say it out loud because I need to do the math. So I'm going to be 50 this year. And I left when I was 19. So this was 31 years ago, right? So 31 years ago, maybe things are different now, but at the time, it wasn't uncommon for you to take your 13-year-old or your 8-year-old to the pub and go to the beer garden and give them a shandy, which is beer and lemonade mixed together. That's what they, as an 8-year-old, that's what you would give your child.
Beer at 8 years old?
Beer mixed with lemonade, which is fizzy lemonade, not the flat lemonade that they have here. And that's what people would, the kids, you know, and I'm sure it like chilled them out, you know, it's good. So you're used to using alcohol. And I think if you have a tendency, an addictive personality, on top of that, and I think that's maybe why, you know, all my friends in England are going, stop dissing England. I mean, now I've learned that I've become happy by being here, that I can go back to England and I can be happy and I can go visit my friends. But I wasn't in a good place, and it wasn't a good place for me at the time, and those two things were just butting heads. So it snowballed until this last day of college and this addiction to alcohol, and I was sitting on this bed with this boy. And he was in like the year below me or something. And I leaned in to kiss him, and he pushed me away. And there was something about being pushed away in that moment that just was the final straw. And I was like, okay. And I walked to the corner shop and I bought a bottle of Thunderbird, you know, the big the really nasty wine. It's like really nasty. Thunderbird wine. It's really hardcore, just nasty, cheap wine. So I bought a bottle of that. I smoked like crazy, so I bought a pack of 20 cigarettes, and I bought a bottle of painkillers, and I got on the bus, and I sat on the back seat of the bus, and I took the whole bottle of pills and drank it and washed it down with a Thunderbird. And I went to work because I didn't know what to do. I was waiting to become unconscious. And then when I got to work, still, I wasn't feeling anything yet. And I was starting to wonder, did I make the right choice? What am I doing? And I could hear this voice in my head, and it was saying, are you sure? Are you sure? And then there was this other boy. It's always a boy, right? So there was another boy, and he put down a tray of glasses on the bar, because where I worked was actually a bar, a nightclub. And I looked him in the eye, and I heard it so loud in that moment, are you sure? And I realized the answer was no. And so I couldn't find the words to tell anyone what I'd done. So instead, I faked fainting. It's the only thing I could think of doing. So I faked fainting, and I just lay on the floor and I waited for someone to help me. And then a few minutes later, I was in an ambulance and taken to the hospital, the stomach pumped, and obviously I'm here to tell the tale.
Oh, wow.
But it was me really screaming and reaching out and not knowing what to do. And I'd love to say that was the end of it, and then I woke up and everything was fine. It was all good then. But that's not how it works, right, Sandy?
That is not how it works, no.
So what I did next was didn't tell anyone. My mom knew because she had to come get me from the hospital, and my stepdad, but nobody knew, no friends, nobody knew. And I started writing poetry and expressing myself through poetry. And then that got me in such a frenzy that I had another episode. And then there was all of this shame and this guilt of what I was putting my family through. And it was the addiction, and it was the adolescence, and it was what was going on, and it was crescendoing. And I managed to pull myself along for a few years. And then when I was 19, I moved out to America. And I still was kind of crazy and partying and drinking too much, but I was in an environment that was a better fit for me. And instead of what you might have imagined happening is you move to America, and everybody in England thinks Americans are just all crazy and they're doing all kinds of drugs and it's crazy here. Instead of it being like that when I got here, it actually began to calm me down a little bit. I still had quite a couple of decades of craziness in me. And it took until 10 years ago, it's just 10 years now, when I finally finished my battle with alcohol and stepped into this place of surrender, which happened right before my 40th birthday. And it had been years and years and years of me drinking and feeling bad and having wonderful things around me, having wonderful man who's my husband, who are very happily married, having a child, having work, having friends. But the addiction was so in my body, it had its claws on me. And I had no understanding of how to get my way out of that. I tried AA, I tried reading different books, different programs, different systems. But there was one night right before my 40th birthday, and my husband and my daughter were leaving for the weekend to go to his family's house. And as he was leaving the house, I looked him in the eye and I said, I'm going to figure this out. And we didn't say what I was talking about, but he knew. He's always been my Prince Charming because he's never said, you need to quit. And he has seen it all, right? But he has never told me that. And it is the best thing that could have happened for our relationship. Because it's difficult when there's someone that you love that's doing something, but then if you are pushing them, all that you create is resistance. And so I told him I was going to figure it out. And I was into personal development. I've always loved personal development. So I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to figure this out, right? So I got all the books that I had, all my favorite books, and I stacked them up on the floor. And so we've got a stack of like 40 books on the floor. And I got a whiteboard and I put it on a tripod. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get all the great pith, the message, the core of each of these books. I'm going to write it on the board, and that's going to help me figure this out right now. It made complete sense to me at the time. So I opened the first book and I start thinking what I've got to write down. And I realized the enormity of what I'm doing here and how I'm really just avoiding. I'm keeping busy. I'm not really getting to the core of it by mastering all the messages from all of these great people. And so I realized that was just not going to work. And I grabbed one book, and it was Gary Zukav's The Seed of the Soul. And I just happened to look at the index. And there was a chapter on addiction, and I'd never read this before. And I turned to the chapter on addiction, and I was just skimming. And I noticed a section where it said something along the lines that it was about what you were going to gain by giving the alcohol up, not what you were going to lose. It was about this freedom that came from it. And all of these decades and decades and decades, I'm in my 40s now, I've been drinking since I was 8 or drinking properly since I was 13, right? And so all of these decades, and I always thought that alcohol was this celebration. It was this good thing that I'd have to give up, and I was very resistant to giving it up. And in that moment when I read that chapter, which I would recommend to anybody if you have feeling any sense of addiction, or if you know someone that's going through this, and it resonated, because then I saw that it was the better choice was to give up. Because our brains can tell us all the right reasons that I need to give up because I'm killing myself, and for my daughter and for my husband and for all of these things, but it didn't resonate enough. It wasn't until I realized, oh, I'm giving up because I'm gaining more by giving up. And then the language came to me that what I was doing was I was choosing to live consciously. And as soon as I saw, okay, not drinking means choosing to live consciously, it was like, oh my gosh, it's like I'd won the lottery. And I never had another drink again after that night. It's like this moment that came down from the heavens. And I had that question, that concept that came into my head from the book. And I never had another craving. I've never had a need to do anything else. I did go to one AA meeting afterwards. I'd been to them before, and I think they are a great thing. But this time around, I was doing so good. I wasn't wanting to have a drink, and I'd quit, and life was going really good, and I wasn't feeling depressed or suffering in any way. But after a couple of weeks, I thought, well, maybe I should go to an AA meeting. I should get some support. So I went to the AA meeting, and I sat down, and just as I got my butt down, it came around the room, and I don't know if any of you have been to an AA meeting before or to a support group, but what they always do, and you've probably seen it in the movies, is, hi, my name is Frank and I'm an alcoholic, right? So it came around to me. As I put my butt down on the floor, it was my turn. So I didn't even have time to think about it. And I was like, oh, I can't say that. That goes against that realization I just had. I can't go to the label of I am an alcoholic. That doesn't fit this new exciting realization that I've had. So I sat down and the words just flew out of my mouth. Hi, my name is Marianne, and I'm choosing to live consciously. And everybody just looked at me. And they didn't know what to say. And there's this pause. And then this guy goes, you know you're in an A meeting, right? And I said, yes. And I sat through the meeting, and it was fine. But that's when I knew the choice I'd made was good, and it served me. It's 10 years
and
already.
It worked for you.
It worked for me.
It worked for you. That's awesome. I thank you for sharing your story, because you brought up a lot of interesting points, and just even thinking about my own life, because my mother was an alcoholic. And our fights were always about her drinking.
Yes.
The fights with my dad and her were always about drinking. So it was always a thing about the drinking.
Yeah.
So it brings up a lot of stuff, for me personally. And I'm sure some of you might be able to relate with this. But, choosing conscious, Abigail brought this up, actually pointed this out, choosing to live consciously. I love that. But which I absolutely love, because I think when I think of people that are addicted, or that feel like they have to smoke weed all the time, or they have to drink all the time, or they have to eat, it's like it's all numbing. It's all numbing. And
it's numbing, but they also see it, and I did too, as a reward, as the special thing. And damn it, I'm going to have to give that up. Mm-hmm. But when you see the thing over here and you get it, that the thing over here is actually the reward. Mm-hmm. The consciousness is the gift. It was like this. I mean, many of you probably watching this going, yeah, I knew that all along, Marianne. What the hell's your problem? But for me, it was huge in that moment. And that's why I never had a craving. I never had anything. I never wanted another drink since. And I'd quit before. One time I quit for a year, but it was hell. And I was craving the whole time. And this time, nothing for 10 years.
So you didn't feel like the emotional roller coaster of like the old, the experiences that you had growing up, your dad not being around, or any of that stuff? None of that stuff came to the surface
after I quit?
When you quit?
No. And I think it was because I was ready for that shift. And maybe I'd been working that stuff out I'd had several decades under my belt to work some of this stuff in. And the other thing too is I was, as I said, really into personal development. Mm-hmm. And what I'd noticed was it didn't matter what book I was reading, and spirituality too. I'm a Buddhist, and so I'm taking my Buddhist precepts, or I'm reading a personal development book. It didn't matter what I did. What it always came down to was the drinking. It was always like there's a Buddhist precept that you take. And one of them is that you will not to drink, basically. And so here I am, I'm meeting it again. It's like no matter what I did. But it was so funny because people would just find ways, and they do this for us. And they think they do it because they love us, but they find loopholes for us, and it doesn't serve us. Even the Buddhist monks, it was so funny. The Buddhist monks said, well, you can drink. It's just, you don't, as long as you don't get intoxicated. And so I'm like, oh, okay, good. And I'm thinking, but that's BS, because I don't even know how. I mean, I would drink a 2-liter bottle of red wine every night for at least a couple of decades. So there is no way I knew how to have a drink without being intoxicated. But it's these little loopholes, and it just kept coming. It was like you're on a path, and there's a tree across the path, and it's huge. And for me, that tree was the addiction, the alcohol. And it didn't matter what I did, I could not get around it. I had to go through it. And that's why I think once I got to the other side, I didn't suffer so much, because I'd suffer so much in the decision making, in the journey. The journey had been suffering.
So did you have like a triggering point, like something happened that, what made you feel like, okay, this is it, like I'm going to figure this out? Was there a particular event or something?
Yes.
In particular?
Thank you for asking. I would drink a lot, as you heard me say, like a 2-liter bottle of red wine every single night. And what I would do is I would drink until I passed out on the couch. And my husband would sit there on the couch with me. And sometimes he'd go to bed before me, sometimes he wouldn't. And we'd talk. I love talking. In case you haven't noticed, I'm sorry, Sandy.
I'm like, she talks more than me, so I think I met my match. We could probably talk all day and all night.
So I like to talk, and my husband, we're a great balance, because he talks a little bit, but he doesn't talk as much as me. He's a listener. And so we would be on the couch every night, and we'd have conversations. But the next morning, I had blacked everything out. And this happened again and again and again. And the turning point for me was that it got to the point that he would say things to me. And I'd go, what? And he'd go, we were talking about it last night. And I wouldn't remember. And that happened so many times that I stopped talking to him. because I didn't want to feel uncomfortable that I had forgotten the conversations. So the minute that day that I realized I've stopped talking to the person that I love the most, that was like the last straw. That was when the desire was so strong for me to move past this. I think, and the reason it worked in that moment, I think, was because the desire for me was so strong and my openness was so expansive. Like I was ready. I was done. I was beaten down. I tried everything. I'd felt crappy for decades and I was ready. No matter what, let's do this. I'd given up. I'd been defeated and broken down. You know, they talk about wild horses, how they break them, right? And I felt like maybe in that moment I was a broken wild horse that was ready and had the desire for that to change.
You're ready to change everything. Wow, that's so. And I have a client actually. I have a client that used to have a drinking problem too, and it was drinking a lot, and cold turkey too was just one of those things where the relationship was kind of like either this changes or that's it. Like we cannot continue this way, and just cold turkey. No, just and his life has changed like tremendously.
If you're ready, right? Mm-hmm. But I think something, you know, as we're talking about addiction, something that a lot of people don't realize is that it takes at least 6 or 7 times to give up something. And so I had attempted to give up alcohol more than 6 or 7. I'd had probably every year of my life, my New Year's resolution was, guess what? To quit smoking and to quit drinking, right? I quit smoking before I quit drinking because my husband did say when we had a child that I needed to quit smoking. And I did, and I honored that. But every year, so it wasn't like, oh, I just decided to do it and I did it. When we're trying to do something, anything in our lives, and that's what we need to realize, is that failure, that having a good attempt and it not working is part of the process, and it's necessary. And then when you get to that moment when you're completely beaten down and you're open and the desire is so strong, then you actually create change, but only because of all the other attempts that I'd had, I'm sure.
And I think this
so hot we can't even keep the stream live feed going. It just burned out. We were so explosive.
All right. Yes, we're back. You're watching Transform Your Life with Sandylu and Friends, and I'm here with my guest, Marianne Emma Jeff, which is CEO of the Women's Business Momentum Center and the best-selling author of Get It Done, Diva's Guide to Business and Brand Me. So my apologies, you know, internet disconnected on us, so I hope you join us again. Remember to share. Hello, Abraham. Thanks for joining us. Ooh. One of my coaches. Looking forward to what's next. Hello, Oscar Ramos. Actually, Oscar Ramos and I did our self-development training together. Hello, Genoveva. Genoveva is an awesome, she was on my show too. She's an attorney. And if you want to stay planning, she's the go-to girl. Yay. All right. And so anyway, we had just got disconnected, but we're getting back on. So make sure that if you just joined us or that you watch the first part of it, which I'll connect them later, but make sure that you watch the beginning so you could hear Marianne's story, which is super inspiring, super raw and authentic. I absolutely I love that you are so real and raw and sharing your experience, because we all go through so many things that people are so unaware of, and sometimes we forget to be empathetic or sympathetic or just open to why people are why they are how they are, why they do what they do and stuff like that. And we just never know what people have experienced and what battles they're fighting even now. They could, I don't know about you, but I know I get a lot of clients that appear to be very confident and appear to be very successful and appear to be a certain way, but when we work with them, we find out that they have a lot of insecurities. They're still holding on to a lot of pain. And I don't know if that's that's kind of the depth of work that I do, that I tend to work with. But I don't know if you see it with your clients.
I think everybody that I have come across on the planet feels not good enough. Everybody. Mm-hmm. And this insecurity, I think on one hand it is actually a good thing because there's a humbleness to that. which tends to bring, for example, the women that I work with, it tends to allow them to show up from this place of huge generosity and giving and wanting to serve, which is beautiful, but it's keeping that in balance and doing things so that you can take care of yourself, the personal development work, so you can gain your confidence, so you can do that work so that you can begin to not have those demons taking over. It's a balance, maybe. It keeps you in check. Because I think if you have that humbleness and then you become successful, it's going to keep you in check a little bit and keep you hungry for wanting to create more and create better. So I do like that I have a little bit of that not feeling good enough.
Yeah, I think it's not so much not feeling good enough in those words. I think it's like there's an insecurity that we have because there's still a level of something we don't learn, that we still don't know, and because we feel like we still don't know that enough, it changes the perspective of ourselves. I think when we look at it that way, right, versus not good enough. But I totally get it, because I mean, it comes up. I think as an entrepreneur, you know, those things come up. You're like, wow,
all the time. Like, I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. I've not been doing this long enough. And in life, I'm not as good enough as this person. I mean, I just hear it. I hear it so often. Yeah. It's a big one.
Yeah, it is. And I see it all the time. I mean, I'm like, I remember before I started transformation, I was in real estate, I was in property management, always in charge, you know, lead roles, the lead in my family, the one that took charge, the one that had the properties, the one that made the money, the one that, you know, had the new car, and the one that went on vacation, you know, like things like that. But inside I was very guarded. I masked my anger, my pain with anger. There was a lot of things that people that even knew me didn't really know that, other than like the people that were closest to me that got the bulk of the ugliness that was in me.
That's usually the way it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, at my height of addiction, in fact, my husband and we were just sharing this story the other night at a birthday party for a friend, that there was one night when I was quite drunk. And when I would get really to that point, the person that would come out of me reminded me when you said the anger. My husband would call it her. She was there last night. And she is... and she like exorcist, head spins. That was who I would become. But what happened is she came out a few times and my husband met her. And it was not pretty. In fact, one time we were at a party. We got in the elevator, and the oldest brother from the Wonder Years, the show that was on TV a few decades ago, he gets in the elevator, and I scared the hell out of him. He got out of that elevator because I was so scary. My husband's just, and it wasn't my husband at the time, it was my boyfriend. He's just trying to get me into the car, down the steps, and then I'm crawled up in where you put your feet in the passenger seat, and then when we get where we're going, he opens the door, and I just fall on the asphalt, and then gets me upstairs. And the next day, he tells me he loves me. He says, well, I've seen her. I've met her. I've seen the worst of it. And if I can handle that, I can handle anything. And I've never met anybody like that before.
Wow.
That could see me that way.
Wow. Talk about true love.
Yeah.
Like loving you whole and complete.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was ugly. She is ugly.
Oh my gosh. I think we all have, I mean, I know that I've worked on my mind. I worked on it a lot. I mean, it was just misdirected pain.
Yeah.
You know, it's misdirected pain.
The anger. Yeah.
So even when it comes up, I know we talked about a post I did about my mom, but the moment that I was feeling it, I was sharing it, it came from a place of anger and then just sadness, so much sadness for my mom. So it was a combination of both things, you know, for the injustice, you know, with her, what happened to her at the hospital, but then the injustice of and the pain that she went through because of her relationship with her family. And I felt that yeah, like it came out. Yeah. But you know, now that you know, the importance of self-development is being self-aware and understanding what you're experiencing.
And it helps you to navigate it. Doing personal development doesn't mean that, everything's great now and I don't feel anything.
And I don't feel angry.
It just means you're able to handle things. And it's interesting, I have a 13-year-old daughter right now. And I felt very strongly, I think it was about 5 years ago, that I wanted her to learn meditation, because I felt like if I'd had meditation when I was going through the suicide and the beginnings of the addiction and all of that stuff, it would have given me a tool, it would have given me something. I felt so strongly about that. And so I helped her with a little bit of learning meditation, and went to meditation retreat with her and things like that, and made it a special big deal. When she did her first retreat, I bought her a special necklace, and I really explained to her why it was important and that I saw it as a tool. But it wasn't until last week that I realized the best gift that I can give her, the best thing that I can teach her, is to love herself, to feel good, to know how to make herself feel good. The meditation can help her get there, but there's other ways that you can get there too. And when I realized that a couple weeks ago, that's the tool that I want her to have. Because as a 13-year-old, if she's even just beginning to know kind of what that is, with not understanding it, then she's got a much better chance of being able to travel through this than I did. And maybe she won't have to hit the ground so hard. And that's really the mission I'm on right now, because you talked about happiness. And what I'm starting a podcast actually, which is going to launch either next week or the week after, called Momentum. And the premise behind the podcast is about feeling good, about making sure you're always feeling good, about doing things that make you feel good, making choices when you're in a place that's feeling good. And so I'm really passionate about this idea of micromanaging your happiness. We micromanage, I was joking the other day, the air conditioning in the car, it's up, but it's down, it's up. My husband just sits there, he's like, every second it's going up and down, right? I'm a control freak, Sandylu, right? I drove myself to the hospital after my water broke because I have to drive everywhere. So it's 1 a.m., the water's broken, I put a towel under my butt, and I drive myself to the hospital, right? The husband does not fight with me because he knows that's what was going to happen. He wasn't expecting to drive. He would happily have driven if I asked him to, but he knew. And so I'm controlling everything, and I think a lot of us are. We're micromanaging him. Maybe you're not as bad as me, but we micromanage our lives. And so what I want to do with this podcast is I want to make it about micromanaging your happiness and giving yourself permission to do that. And if I can teach my daughter that, I don't think I can give her a better gift or a better tool in her life.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. I'll do happy news, and you do micromanage your happiness, right? Yep.
Sounds like a good
Sounds like
plan.
A good idea, right?
Yes.
You'll do it on one day, I'll do it on the other day, so that we could keep it consistent, right?
Yep.
Keep the message consistent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge some people, and then you can share more about what you actually do at the Business Momentum Center and about your awesome books. And I'm excited because I actually got the new planner.
Woo! A lot of the members don't have it yet.
You don't have it yet.
Hot
anyway,
off the press.
Hi everyone who joined us and got back with us. This is part 2 because part 1 we got disconnected due to Wi-Fi connection. But so make sure that if you just joined us that you watch the first part later on. Watch it from the beginning. Marianne shares with us her story and how she ended up how she struggled with alcoholism and how she was able to overcome it, and shares just a very inspiring story. I just want to say it's inspiring because there's people out there that think they can't quit, whether it's food or addiction, anything, whatever, you know what I mean? Like sometimes we feel like we can't, but you know, just hearing your stories is super inspiring. So make sure you watch from the beginning. So watch the first part later on after we're done. Feel free to ask your questions. But thank you everybody who joins us. I know there's people that I can't see everybody's name, but Lupe Diaz, hi. Lupe Diaz says she's glad we're back. Woo-hoo! Yes, we're glad we're back. Hello, Abraham. Again, Lorraine Navarez, hi. She says, hi, Sandylu.
Oh,
looking
Michelle.
forward to meeting you soon. Oh yeah, Michelle, another powerhouse. Lupita Sandoval, Jennifer Munoz, of course, Miss Veronica Corona, the boss babe. Camilo, he's a guitarist. He plays for famous Latin artists. He's really good. I hope you're playing at the Roosevelt Alumni Concert this year. Are you? Let me know. Lori Navarez again, and she let's see. Veronica said that's awesome, but I don't know what it was for specifically, but it's awesome, right, Veronica?
Everything is awesome.
Lucy Leyva, Lorraine Navarez says, kudos to your husband because I had an ex that drank and I did not like him, quotes him, when he came out.
Her and him, they would have made it quite
Note the term ex.
Yeah.
He had to go.
Yeah.
So glad you're on the other side now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And James McKellop, I believe he's in Hawaii. Aloha. John, Sandra Ayala, Michelle Summers again, Colon. I think she moved to New York, right?
She did.
Right,
I've seen the pictures. It looks
Hello,
awesome.
Michelle. Thanks for watching. Lori Pendroff. Veronica Corona says about her husband seeing her true colors. That was awesome. Yeah, he really saw beyond that, and he was able to. He said he could get through that. Then he was okay.
He's a good one. He's a keeper.
Well, it's kind of interesting because when we're dating or when we're in a boyfriend girlfriend and even engaged, there's still a level of you that they still don't get to see until you're finally there, right? And we're all perfectly imperfect. We're all going to have that witch moment, right? With a capital B. It's inevitable.
I like
right?
that.
I know that one very well. It's so, but it's very, it's my B, capital B is like days we're every day, all day. It's rare. It comes out, but it's rare.
But it's,
yeah, but it's, I'm a human. That's why I tell people, I'm a human. I make mistakes. I don't always know the answers. And if I don't know, I try to learn. I'm a human. My sister Lourdes, hello Lourdes. Tatiana Mejia Pacheco, another powerhouse business owner. I need to talk to you. I have a connection for you that might be great, by the way. So let's talk tomorrow, Tatiana. She's from Andrea's Healthy Kitchen. I don't know if you've tried the juices. Great. She does the juice detox and stuff. But anyway, thank you everybody that's watching. If you joined us, you're watching Transform Your Life with Sandylu and Friends. We are on every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I am with my guest, Marianne Emma Jeff, CEO of the Women's Momentum Center and best-selling author of Brand Me. And I moved the page.
it's here.
The Get It Done Divas Guide to Business. And so anyway, let's talk about your business. Let's talk about, I know one of them, we talked about this and you probably heard all our storytelling, but maybe you can share with us about your Brand Me. Let's talk about Brand Me. What was Brand Me about?
So Brand Me is a book, and it's really about mastering the art of storytelling, because stories are I tend to build relationships with people very quickly because I like to share stories. I like to share who I am. I don't have a lot of time for idle conversation, in case you haven't noticed.
Oh my gosh, you and I are so much alike. Yeah.
Right in.
I don't like the superficial. I can't stand surfacey conversations.
Yeah,
and they happen more often than I would like, I'll admit it, but I'm like you. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So if we can, whether it's in our businesses or whether it's in our careers or even if it's in our relationships, stories allow us to build relationship very quickly. I mean, when you think of when you're dating someone, it's the storytelling. You're telling this story and that story and this story and that story, and that's how the relationship builds, and you actually get closer to each other. You get to know each other through the stories, not through just sharing, I like pink and this is my favorite food and this is this and this, right? It's not the stats on whatever matchmaking software you're using. It's actually the stories that build the relationships. So the book Brand Me is about the art of storytelling, especially for business, but it could work for anyone. And it gets into this idea of really getting clear on what your why is, what's driving you, and what your message is in every story that you're telling. And so before you pick up the phone to chat with someone, get really clear on, well, what's the main idea I want to communicate here, and how can I communicate maybe that in a little story? And you don't have to spend a lot of time doing it, but I think you'll see the examples in the book really help with that. But I love storytelling because it really shows us who someone is. And there's going to be some of you that are watching, probably not many of you, but there'll be a few of you watching today that are like, I do not like that. Marianne Emma Jeff, I don't like her at all, right? Because you've seen clearly who I am, and it might not vibe with you. And that's okay. We don't have to connect with every single person out there. But if we are willing to be ourselves and share our stories, then we can begin to build better relationships, which is even more important as we're online so much, because we can share stories online. We can share it in our posts and our social medias, but it's not the same as when you hear me share the story right here. First of all, if you were reading the story that I shared with you in the live today, you wouldn't have read every piece of it. You wouldn't have heard the emotion behind it. It wouldn't have moved you in the same way. And so as we spend more and more time texting and we spend time on social media, we're maybe missing out on this ability to build relationships through stories with people, live people. And I think the other thing around stories that I'm really passionate about, and I'm going to shift it over to the podcast that I'm going to be doing too, is I want to bust a myth that I've bought into for decades. And that is that idea of suffering to succeed. I shared my story, and you can look at it as one of those 0 to hero stories, right? And there's a lot of those around. And I think it's nice to hear those stories because we feel like, oh, she knows what I'm going through, or I can relate to her, or she's a real person. But I think the danger is that when we begin to believe that that's the way it has to be, we maybe there's a shortcut that we could take that we miss out on. And so when I talk about feeling good and momentum, what I'm really talking about is, we watch movies. We watch Rocky, right? The montage with the fighting and the suffering and the running up and down the steps. Yes, we have to put in effort and work and we train, but we enjoy that. If we're not enjoying that, then we're on the wrong path. But that idea of thinking that you have to suffer, the classic is with an artist. Whether it's a movie star or a rock star or a poet or a painter, there's this stereotype that they have to suffer to be a good artist. And I think that there is this myth of suffering to succeed just with regular people as well. So I'm on a mission to bust that myth and shift into this place that we can feel good. And what I make it a metaphor that's great for this is if you've ever been bowling, you know how they put the bumpers up, right? Well, what if in life we can learn by hitting the edges of the bumper, like on the bowling alley, instead of going into the gutter? That's all I'm saying. It doesn't mean life's going to be perfect and we're not going to feel pain. But did I have to get in the gutter? That's what I question now. And so I'm really looking at tools and different ideas to help women in business and telling them, hey, which of these tools feels like fun? Which would be exciting and joyful for you to use in your business right now? Because I think especially in business, I have the Women's Business Momentum Center is an organization that I'm the founder and the CEO of for the last 10 years. And so I've evolved. Of course, the women that have been with me have evolved. Business has evolved. A lot of things have shifted. And I'm passionate about creating tools. I'm crazy. Like the planner that Sandylu has here, I mean, this is a labor of love. I did this because it makes me feel good, because I enjoy doing this.
I like the colors. It makes me feel good just looking at it.
Just looking at it, right? And then there's a checklist in it where you can follow along and you can go from the top down and you can build a 7-figure business. And you just go through each line item, and I have online little workshops and little courses and examples and resources to help you with every single line item. But here's the thing. I think in business and in life, we get caught up in needing to do it the right way, or everybody else is doing this. So what I'm saying now with this, and with all of the tools that I offer, whether it's stuff in the Brand Me book, or if it's the ideal schedule that we talked about earlier in the introduction, or the 90-day power plan, do them because it makes you feel good to use them. Don't do them because you want to do it right, or because everybody else is doing it, or because that's the way it has to be done. And so I'm shifting gears with that and really focusing on creating businesses from a place of feeling good. Because honestly, to be successful in anything, I don't believe you have to do anything. I think it's all about the way that you feel, and then you look at taking action when you feel good. So then if you look at it from that perspective, any tool, Facebook advertising, using social media, whether you have a website, whether you're going to do a webinar, whatever you're going to do it because it's fun. Do it because it makes you feel good. Then you'll get really great results. And that's what I am there holding the ladies accountable for, having fun. I'm like the biggest cheerleader. Are you doing this because it's fun? these are some tools that you could do that would be fun. And that's what the Women's Business Momentum Center is. It's a really affordable community for women in business where they can be reminded. They can get on an 8 a.m. call with me every Monday, and we do action and accountabilities. It's weekly momentum. I get them on fire. I get them excited. We share what they're up to and keep them in momentum. So momentum is really about living your truth and feeling good, making sure you're feeling good and you're moving from inspired action.
There you go. So are you feeling momentum? Are you feeling momentum? I know I am. I know. And entrepreneurship is challenging. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you work for someone, you're a stay-at-home mom. I mean, these are the kind of things to consider. What are the kind of things that make me feel good when I do them? And do more of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be certain things that you don't really like and you probably will never like. But if you could look at it in a different way, then consider what other way can I look at it.
Another thing to do is if there's something that you have to do or a choice you need to make that doesn't feel good, go away, make yourself feel good, and then come back. And it might be as simple as putting on a song that feels really good, maybe getting a good night's sleep, walking around the block, moving your body, then come back when you feel better. You still might not feel good about the thing you're doing, but at least you feel better in that moment, and it's going to create more when you do that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea too, because I know I find myself sometimes when I feel like I feel like I have to make a decision, but then I feel like I'm resisting the decision or the choice, and I'm like, I can't make the decision because I'm just resisting the idea.
Yeah, because when we push, all we do is create more resistance. So I'm learning really big this year is all about letting go of the pushing and just focus on feeling good, whether it's your career, your business, you're raising your children, whatever it is, they want to do something a certain way, your children, there's plenty of resistance that can show up there as well, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know we're running out of time really quickly here. Let's see, Josefina Camacho says, thank you for supporting others to empower themselves. All right, awesome. Thank you for joining us. James Williams, thank you for joining us. Lupe Diaz says, I like saying that says, create a life you don't need a vacation from, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, like I think that I never want to feel like I have to retire or I can't wait to retire. Like I want to be in a space where I enjoy myself so much that that's not even a thought. Like it's.
And you can flip what she said too.
Right.
You can live your life like it's a vacation.
Yes.
So instead of never feeling like you have to have a vacation, how about just living your life? That's what I feel like I've done. I mean, I bought a house in the desert, and I bought it to do retreats at, and I had a blast doing retreats at it. I did so many. It was the most amazing experience. And we actually just lost one of our members last month, and she was a really good friend, Moo Lawson. And she was at almost every retreat, and we really bonded and came together over meals, all of the ladies together. It was such a gift to have that. And then I got to the point where I loved being in the desert so much, and it feels like vacation to me, that we ended up moving down there. So I'm a big believer in that, absolutely living your life like a vacation. I have 2 hammocks in my backyard. I work at least 3 or 4 hours in the pool every day when it's hot. I stand with my desk. It's like my standing desk on the side of the pool. So do things that make it feel like a vacation even when you're working. Absolutely. That's making yourself feel good and have fun.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And at the end of the day, no one can really make you feel good other than yourself. Because you could be around extraordinary people, amazing experiences, etc. But if you're not good with yourself, you're going to struggle.
Yes.
And I know, because I remember being, having all these homes, going on vacation, doing these all-inclusive, all you can drink. And of course I drank. I would binge drink, and I would have a blast. I'm a fun drunk until I would get to the crash.
Oh yeah.
I was never an angry. I would get very emotional. I would see everything, and I would feel like I'm here, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was the weirdest feeling. But when I wasn't good with myself, like I couldn't really enjoy
no matter
what I was. So you got to work on yourself. There's things you got to work on yourself. Yeah. Now you do have your other brand me. I know we talked about
brand me.
We talked Get It Done Divas.
Okay, so the other book I have, and they're both Amazon #1 best-selling books. There's the Get It Done Divas Guide to Business, which is a book where it's kind of like an encyclopedia for business. So you can go in there and you can dip, and you can look at creating a winning environment for your business and looking at ideal schedule. You can look at creating a one-page strategic plan for your business or different marketing tools and things like that. You can dip into this book, and it's pretty substantial size. It's a really good one. That's the Get It Done Divas Guide to Business. But I love resources. I love delivering value. I love sharing resources with women in business. So if you go to my website, which is womensbusinessmomentum.com, womensbusinessmomentum.com, you'll see that you can scroll down the page. There's some free webinars that you can do there that will help you. There's also at the top in the navigation bar, it says classes. If you click on classes, you're going to see that there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and you don't have to be a member. It's more affordable if you're a member, but you're welcome to come as a non-member to any of the meetings that we have. We always have virtual ones. We have ones in Pasadena. I do events. I'm doing a business storytelling happy hour in the desert in Palm Springs next month, and I have a webinar coming up on how to create an online course, which is going to be this Thursday. So there's a lot, and that one's free too. So there's a ton of resources. Bookmark the website because there's always new stuff coming up.
Great, you guys got that. So make sure, maybe you might feel like, well, I'm not a business owner. Maybe it's not something for me. But one is something you might consider doing because you might learn something that would be valuable in your life, period. The other is you might know someone that actually could benefit from her workshops. And I know I've taken her workshops, and a lot of my friends have, and some of my friends are your clients as well. And I see everything that they're doing. So
and we have fun.
And they have fun.
Fun is a priority.
Fun is important. It's funny, but I'm always coaching like, okay, you got to have fun. Like your wheel of life sucks because you have no fun whatsoever. Yeah. And so all that working and all that money is no point if you're not actually doing something to enjoy. So you got to enjoy it.
Micromanage your fun.
Micromanage, yes, micromanage your fun. I'm gonna remember micromanaging my happiness too. I have my moments as an entrepreneur. It gets nuts sometimes. I gotta remember so my happiness is always my show. I love my show. Like I love doing my show, and it's the one thing that has kept the momentum for me. You know, and you gotta find, I think, what helps you keep the momentum.
That's key. You have to enjoy doing it.
Yes, exactly. So with all the other challenges that come with entrepreneurship, starting my show has been the one thing that has kept the momentum. And of course, when I work with my clients, I always feel energized. I hear people say that they feel like they lost their energy, or why are they torturing themselves when they're coaching people and stuff like that. Like that should never be the case. I feel fulfilled. I feel energetic. I feel like it doesn't matter.
And I can tell. I can tell when I've watched your show, and I can tell for sure sitting next to you, feeling it, that you love doing this, right? And so then it just creates more momentum instead of sucking the life out of you because you're doing something that you love.
Yeah, exactly. Are there any tools any additional like tidbits or tools that you can share with everyone so they can that would help them keep the momentum and whatever they're up to in their lives?
So there's a little equation, and anybody that knows me has probably heard this before, but you'll like the reminder. I call it the momentum equation. It used to be called the success equation. And remember, momentum is being in that place where things are flowing, things are easy, and you feel good, right? So the formula for that is to have clear vision. So to be able to vision, to think about, to imagine, to see what it is that you're wanting to create. And then there is the passion piece, and we were just talking about that. You have the vision, you want to do this show, Sandylu, right? A while ago, 2 years ago, you had this vision, you thought about it. It was a picture in your head, you gave it space, you thought about it, you fleshed it out, but then you made sure that it was something that you felt passionate about, that you were excited about, that was in tune with what makes you happy. So you need the vision, you need the passion, and then you need to take the consistent action. And so once again, your show's a great example, because if we don't do all three things, then it doesn't work. We're not in momentum. We're not in that sweet spot. Because if Sandylu had a show and she binged and she was passionate about it and she did 7 episodes and then she didn't do any episodes for a few months, you all wouldn't be here right now watching this. because there'd be no reliability, there'd be no credibility, there'd be no momentum behind it. So you need to have, no matter what you do. In business, the example I give quite often is that, I want to do email marketing. I want to do an email newsletter. I have to get one out. Well, first of all, you have to find a way to make it, ignite the passion, and it needs to feel good. And you have to have a vision of what you want it to be like for you. And then you need to be consistent with it. And consistent doesn't mean, it could be that you've set up emails to go out you don't have to be doing it every day. You can automate the consistent action, but you need to be monitoring it. You need to be updating it. You need to add new stuff to it. And I think this is true of anything. If we're missing any one of those 3 ingredients, then it doesn't work. Because you imagine almost like a tugboat that's going across the water. If the tugboat doesn't have the rudder on it, then all it's going to do is go around in circles. And your rudder is really your vision of seeing where you want to go. So if you get in your boat, and I see this happening so much with especially women in business and career women, that you burn yourself out, you binge, you burn out, and you're bypassing success. But it looks from the outside like you're doing so much. You're so productive. You're doing, but why am I just going in circles? It's because you've got the vision and maybe the passion and no consistent action. You've got the passion and the action, but you've got no vision of where you actually want to be going, or of what you want it to look like. It's just take this action and then take this action. Or you're taking action and you're passionate, that the action is more out of desperation and there's no passion there. You're doing it because everybody else is doing it, and I've got to pay my rent, and I really need this to work right now. And so you're binging on creating content, and there's no real connection with the vision of who your tribe is, or you're not really speaking to them, or your heart isn't in it, and then you wonder why it's not working. So you need vision, clear vision, you need passion, and you need consistent action. And I would add, even now, because I'm so into this idea of happiness and micromanaging your happiness, I would say you need inspired, consistent action. And inspired action is the action that you take from a place of feeling good. So I'm going to make that just little tweak on that equation.
Right. I love it. Yeah. Micromanage your happiness.
Yes.
In everything that you do. Thank you for all the men who joined us today.
Yay.
I know that you might have thought, well, she coaches women and I don't have anything to learn, but it's always something to learn. Not only that, the more you know about women, the more you'll be better in a better relationship with women, whether it's professionally or personally. So, make sure that you share, but thank you for all the men who support all the women in what we are all up to. We appreciate your support, and the more you understand us, like I said, it makes life easy for everyone, and we create win-win situations with all the men in our life, right?
Yes.
So thank you. But we gotta go. Time is up. So how does everybody get a hold of you if they want to know more about your services? I know we'll have you add your links to the comments and everything. And my apologies to everybody. I didn't get to acknowledge everyone and read your comments, but I will go ahead and follow up after. We ran out of time, but thank you for watching. I'm letting you know right now. I will go back and make sure you watch it from the beginning. So part 1, we had 2 parts because we did have a Wi-Fi disconnection, but make sure you watch from the beginning so you can really hear Marianne's
all the juicy stuff.
All the juicy stuff, all the good stuff. Love, sex, and alcohol. No. Rock, sex, and alcohol.
And that was kind of the PG version I told you to.
I got a sense of that. But yeah, make sure you watch from the beginning. It's such an inspiring story. You could relate to it, or you know someone that can relate to it, or someone that could really hear this story. But anyways, how does everybody get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is to go to the website womensbusinessmomentum.com, and you can reach out to me from there. You can see what's going on. The podcast Momentum, which is going to be a great inspiring show, is going to be live in the next 10 days. So you'll be able to subscribe to that and look out for that on iTunes as well as on the website. So be looking for Momentum. That's going to be the podcast. But classes, all the stuff, all the good stuff, you can buy the books. You can do all of that at womensbusinessmomentum.com. And if you felt like I had a message you want to share with people that are in your circles, in your community, and you want to book me to come do your event or be on your podcast, you can also book me as a speaker and go to that on the website as well. So go check it out. And thanks for being there tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. To our audience, like I want to tell you, I acknowledge you all for taking the time to watch live, and for all your comments and any questions that you might have had that I might have missed. But thank you. I appreciate you, and this is for you. So I hope that you're really benefiting and you're learning from myself and my guests who have such amazing stories and wealth of knowledge and wisdom to share with you. So I hope that you are watching and that you're listening and you're taking notes and that you are taking on all this knowledge and information into your lives and transforming your life and the lives of the people around you, because when we transform, the people around us are transforming as well.
Yes.
But thank you, Marianne.
Thank you
for joining me. I really appreciate you being here and just being so raw and real and open. Like there's something I appreciate from people is when they're real and when they are courageous enough to share their story, because they know. I don't know about you, but I think my story is bigger than me. That it's what I do is bigger than me. That it's for them. Like the more I share, the more people feel inspired, and I know I feel very inspired by your story.
Thank you. I think it just feels good to be yourself, and so I share my story because it feels good. It makes my mom crazy. Doesn't make her feel good, but it makes me feel good.
I know. Sometimes I wonder, what are my parents thinking up there?
She's been in the audience before when I've been doing a keynote. Yes.
Oh no, she's probably like, oh. But we got to share, we learn from our experiences, and the best way to take it on to the next level, support other people so they could learn themselves. Right?
Yes.
All right. Well, we got to go, everyone. Thank you. Any last words?
Stay in momentum. Stay in that sweet spot of inspired action and micromanage your happiness.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Again, next week, I'm going to have my guest. Quick announcement. I will be being one of the featured singers at the Roosevelt High School Alumni Concert this Friday, the 21st. And it's benefiting the music department for equipment and for music scholarships. It's going to be a phenomenal concert. I missed today's rehearsal. I was there on Saturday's rehearsal, but amazing musicians, amazing singers. The repertoire is very diverse. I absolutely love it. It's my one thing that I absolutely look forward to every year. This is a ninth year of the concert. This is my fourth year participating, and I absolutely love it. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope you join us. I'll add the link also so you can buy tickets. And also anybody who shared last week's show and anybody who shares this week's show is going to be entered into a raffle to win 2 tickets to the concert on Friday. Okay. Ooh. So remember to share. Okay. Sharing is caring. And not only that, by sharing, you're empowering and inspiring someone else to create an extraordinary life. Okay. And then next week I have a guest. She's one of my former coachees. She is, it's just been amazing seeing her transformation, and she can share that with you. But her name is Elena Sierros, and she is launching her book. She's having a launch party on the 26th, but she will be here on the show on the 25th. So next Tuesday, Elena Sierros, the author of The Invisible Leader, will be here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you join us. She is just a powerhouse of a woman as well, and I can't wait for her to share with you her story, because I mean I've coached her for years and in different times of her life, and she's just done amazing work. But anyway, make sure you join us, and if you want to know more about what I do, you can go ahead and direct message me, and we can go ahead and have a conversation how I can support you. And Marianne works with just women. I work with both men and women. So men and women, you can go ahead and reach out to me. So have a wonderful day, everybody, or a wonderful evening. Remember, you have the power to choose how you want to live your life from moment to moment. You do have a choice, everyone. Have a good evening. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.